Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. Valkrist, Book 2, Valkrist Flight. Chapter 1. Okay, for those of you who have not yet seen the first book, or the videos for the first book for Valkrist, Bella's Gift, I suggest you go view those right now. If you want to, these books really aren't a continuation of anything, but they are part of that story, and it does introduce Bella and 4 of the other legendary horses. Emma Rowland woke up soon after sunrise. Before she opened her eyes, the 11-year-old girl let her dream linger. She held on to her memory of the smell of her mother cooking breakfast in the kitchen and the sound of her father knocking on her bedroom door. "Emma, the horses need us," her father had said. He used to say that every morning. Even now, in her dreams, her father's voice had woken Emma up and reminded her about the horses they both loved. Even now, Emma opened her eyes, staring up at the rafters. Her mother had always told her keeping busy would help her stop thinking about something unpleasant. So Emma pulled off her covers and jumped into action. She wasn't in her old bedroom. She now slept in the hayloft in the stable at Daymere Ranch. Emma had cleaned up the loft and made it a cozy sanctuary. Hearing her feet on the loft's floors, the horses beneath her snuffled, expecting their breakfast. "I'll be right there," Emma called as she twisted her hair into a loose braid. Emma had been sleeping in the hayloft for more than a month now. Emma never felt quite right unless the horses she adored were close by. As she climbed down the loft's ladder, Emma had to admit there was another reason she moved to the hayloft. When her aunt and uncle had taken over Daymere Ranch, her Aunt Cynthia had redecorated the main house. It just didn't feel like the home Emma had grown up in anymore. Emma was an only child, and 2 of her 3 cousins had gone off to college. Her youngest cousin, Colum, was just 2 years older than Emma, but he was so snotty that any day Emma didn't run into him was a good day. The horses shuffled in their stalls as Emma walked down the stable's wide center aisle. There were 12 stalls in the barn, with a storage area under the loft, and an enclosed porch in the front near the tack room and the wash bay. When Emma's father ran the ranch, all 12 stalls were usually occupied, with either the quarter horses the ranch was re-owning for breeding, or with boarded horses from other owners. Now there were only 6 horses in the stable, along with Emma's Shetland pony Mischief. Uncle Morgan wasn't as popular as her father, and many boarders had withdrawn their horses. The only remaining boarded horse was a black thoroughbred mare named Dowager. Emma said hello to Mischief in the first stall. Mischief blinked up at Emma, fluttering his long lashes. The gold-hooped earring in his ear glinted in a ray of sunlight, and Emma felt a swell of love for the adorable pony. Then she moved on to the other horses. "Good morning, Cookie," she told the proud chestnut stallion. He twitched his ears at her. "Hello, Dewdrop," Emma greeted the young bay mare. Dewdrop nuzzled her gait. That was her way of asking for breakfast. Blinky, a dark dapple mare with a white ghost-like shape on her forehead, craned her head as Emma approached. Emma patted her on her distinctive marking. "Hey, Spaceship," Emma said soothingly to a gray, jittery young colt. Spaceship clapped in his stall, snorting. He was Blinky's son, but was much more high-strung. The last family horse, Firelight, didn't look up as Emma arrived. Firelight was a dreamy mare and had been Emma's mother's favorite. But since the car accident, Emma leaned into Firelight's stall and let out a sigh. "I miss her too, Firelight," she said. Firelight twitched her legs, her enormous eyes so sad. "I'll have breakfast for you soon." When Emma reached Dowager's stall, she was surprised to find the mare staring at her. Dowager's eyes twinkled, almost as though she were keeping a secret. Emma shook her head and got busy taking care of the horses. She removed all their blankets, and then she filled their troughs with fresh water. She gave them hay to eat. After they were done eating, she checked their hooves. Cookie's shoes were still fine, but it was almost time for the farrier to come in for a trim. Emma inspected the horse's tack to make sure all the equipment was in good shape. She slipped the halters onto the horses and walked Cookie, Dewdrop, and Blinky out to the corral so they could get some exercise. Uncle Morgan, Walt the stable hand, and Brian the ranch hand would be along soon to start mucking out both horses' stalls. When they were done, Emma would bring the three back in, and then turn out Dowager, Firelight, Spaceship, and Mischief for their exercise. While Cookie and Dewdrop trotted around the big dirt ring, Emma let herself relax. Watching horses run and play was her favorite pastime. Horses were so easily joyful. Dewdrop caught up to Cookie, and for a moment they galloped side by side. Emma had an odd flash, a daydream so strong it was almost like a vision. The horses adorned in beautiful bridles, with magnificent saddles on their backs. They stepped smartly, fancy tassels fluttering on their heads. Emma saw them as royal horses, proud members of a powerful noble family. "Emma!" a voice called behind her. She whirled around. Walt stood out in the stable yard. "Workin' hard or hardly workin'?" he snapped. Emma bit her lip. Walt was always gruff, but he used to have an occasional kind word for her, recognizing how much she loved the horses. But since Uncle Morgan took over, everyone seemed to be in a bad mood. "I'll watch the horses," Walt said. He nodded his head towards the barn. "Go," he ordered. "Your uncle has something to ask you. Now, girl." Hurrying back to the stable, Emma racked her brain for anything she'd forgotten to do. Maybe she hadn't folded the blankets in the specific way he demanded. In the barn, Uncle Morgan had Dowager out in front and was staring at the boarding thoroughbred mare with his fists on his hips. Emma strolled over to him. "Uncle Morgan," she panted, "is this about the blankets?" "Did you let Dowager out unsupervised?" Uncle Morgan interrupted, his eyes squinting. "Months ago? No, Emma stammered, surprised. Of course not. I would never.
You're sure? Uncle Morgan pressed. Trying to save some time with your chores?
Emma shook her head. No, I'm sure, she replied. Why? Her uncle sighed and ran his hands along Dowager's shiny black back.
She's pregnant, he muttered darkly. Dr. Dwyer just confirmed it. She wasn't when Miss Bridget boarded her with us.
Emma grimaced and reached out to rub Dowager's warm nose. I didn't let her run free, she told him. I wouldn't do that. Uncle Morgan slapped Dowager's reins into Emma's hands.
Well, someone did, he barked.
He screwed shut his eyes momentarily.
Take her in and give her a thorough grooming, he ordered. Miss Bridget is not going to be happy. Our last boarder, too. This is a disaster. We can't afford...
Before finishing his sentence, Uncle Morgan turned around and stormed towards the house.
Mug up the stalls while you're at it, he called to his niece. Alone. And make sure...